Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ahmad Faris Hani bin Abdullah. My metric number 1212075. Today, I want to talk about uh, my book review from the book Beliefs That Changed the World, the History and Ideas of the Great Religions by John Bowker. I have read I have read about the about religions of Judaism. So, first point that I get from this book is Judaism were called originally Ben Israel or Ben Jacob. The Bible is an anthology of very diverse writings from more than 1,000 years. Third, it is known by Jews as Mikra. It means reading, recital, or Ha-Sefarim. The books. Ha-Sefarim is the meaning of Ha-Sefarim is the books, or more often as Tanakh. So next, in Judaism, the Torah, the books of divine or Torah is the first five books of Moses, which is in English called by Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. For the next slides, I will talk about the Bible. From this book, written by John Bowker, we said that the Bible tells the story of the member of this kinship group which were under guidance and the direction of God. Second, it tells also how they came to believe that have one God who is the creator of all. Third, they name of Judaism God. The name of Judaism God is called as Yahweh, or I can pronounce in capital letter YHWH. They pronounce as Yahweh, and the Bible begins with story of the first humans, which is Adam and Eve. So, for the second point, it tells also how they came to believe that have one God, who is the creator of all. This point, I can relate with our religious, which is Islam. Islam teach also said that we have one God, and which is Allah. The name God of in Islam is Allah, who sent the messenger to guide the peoples to the right way, to the right path. In these slides, I found the foundation of the Judaism. First, many Jewish beliefs were formed during the biblical period. Second, two belief which is God alone is God, and the some writings from God as revelation. Next, this writing that eventually became the Jewish Bible, which is called as Tanakh. Next, Torah came directly from God. Prophets, which is Nebim, or are the word of God mediated through inspired humans and writings, which is called as Ketubim, come from the less direct inspiration of the Holy Spirit. Next, God is the one from whom all creations come, the unproduced producer of all that is. And finally, only be God, not competing God. This called as monotheism in Hebrew called by Yehud Hashim is the foundation. It is not for Judaism only, but for Christianity and Islam. From this slide, I can conclude that I can tell from this book, it have relationship between Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. This is my last part that I get from my reading on John Bowker's book. So I can conclude that Jews is proclaiming. My first point, I can say the Jews claim that they has chosen by the God out of all the nations to serve God and to keep faith with God. Next, they said for their movement is from Jewish, for Jewish, and by the Jewish people. They also consider Palestine as part of Arab Syria and claim that never been separated. Next, they also claim that Bible didn't say anything about Palestine. And last, my point from my reading is it is common knowledge that Palestine is nothing without southern Syria. That's all from me, and that's all my point from my reading for the book review from the John Bowker. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Aqil bin Abdul Murad. Inshallah today I'm going to talk about Christianity from woke belief that changed the world. So we start from overview. When Judah was a king, there are many ideologies that contrary from the right thing. One of them was starting from Galilee and transferred to the Jerusalem. So the difference of the Jesus is the power of healing and his teaching are always accepted at that time. And they said that his teaching was not from him, but from God. From the people that have made Jesus said that him was incarnation from the God at earth or at the world. So we move to Jesus. The history of Christianity was started from the Jewish man called Jesus. Action from God's safety to not just for the Jewish, but everyone in the world. This belief was changed totally changed, not just Empire Roman, but all over the world. Church in the Roman Empire. New Christians should come under the Jewish law, and they must circumcise. They must follow basic law, but actually they were free. So Christian can bring gospel to the world Mediterranean, and lead by Paul, who are the founder of the Roman Empire and the Church Roman Empire at that time. But Paul that has arrived at the Roman Empire, from the view of the tradition, he has been killed when the persecution to the Christian from the King Roman. The earliest, this belief was really changed life, and it was early summarized belief. Christian was easy. Summarized belief Christian was easy, but the sad is Jesus was died crucified to redeem our original sin. But they believe said that Jesus was wake from the dead, was the real incarnation. So we move the Orthodox Church. The first biggest division was happened when the division of the Diocletian between West and East when they're doing that, they don't see it's hard to control the whole empire. So in 330, Constantine renamed the Byzantine Constantinople and called the new Rome. Constantinople was located at the at the Turkey, as now Constantinople now, and called the new Rome. Church at east were controlled by Patriarch with Alexandria people and Antioch and Jerusalem people. Western Church, but it was very different in Western. They were followed by their own history. When Eric seized Rome in 410, it felt too many like the end of the world. Less than 100 years before, Constantine had begun the process of integrating Christianity into the empire. Why then had God allowed in its capital to fall? One answer was given by Augustine 354 to 430, bishop of Hippo in the city of the God. He argued that God, the good and evil grow entangled together in the world, like wheat and wheat of Jesus. Parable, this taken by Matthew 13:34 verse 30. The final judgment then lies with God. Meanwhile, it is important simply to keep faith. So for the conclusion, I would like to say that Christian are one of the religion that many understanding from many people from all over the world. So we know that. So I would like to say that no matter you are Muslim or Christian or Jewish, we can say that as a Muslim, we must follow our religion and learn other religion to make sure we have to make our faith very strong, to know that our religion is strong, our faith is true, and no, we can. And when we know to other religion or especially Christian, when they ask about our faith, about God, about Jesus, anything, we can answer it.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Hazim bin Azhar. My metric number 1212049. Today, inshallah, I want to start with introduction. Buddhism is a religion that was created as a response to certain teachings and belief in Hinduism during the Reform movement. The case structure, the authority and influence of the Brahmins, the idea of divinity, hazy and ambiguous ideas are some of the Hindu teachings and belief that Buddhism rejects. Additionally, they have released several works, including the Sutta Pitaka, Tripitaka, and others. The conservative movement, known as Sita Viravadus, which is now more decentralized and known as the Theravada trend, and the liberal trend known as Mahasankhya's, or more often known as Mahayana, are the other two major trends in Buddhism. These two streams, which are found in Vaisala, basically predate 300 BC. Reading from the scriptures, giving sermons, and meditating are the three main categories into which religions, ceremonies for this faith, and generally spread. And then I want to tell about the comments. This is my comment. First, they believe that God and spirit do not exist in this world. Second, they claim that Buddha, which is Siddhartha Gautama, is the bearer and teacher of Buddhism. Third, dukkha is a negative feeling that emerges from a person, such as feeling uncomfortable, imperfect, and inverse. 4. Buddhism is a religion that practices meditation to clear the mind and control the thought of others. Last but not least, the conclusion is Buddhism has thrived and has increased adherence of this religion over time in India. In addition, this religion has also been well received in some areas until there are several new religions, and they also really like and are interested in this religion because they feel fit and comfortable with the teaching brought by Buddhism. Although some of these teachings have spread according to local standards, Buddhist teachings such as Sangha, Dharma, Tiratna, and ethical teaching are still ignored in each of these schools. Conclusion, last but not least, Buddhism has flourished and grown in popularity over time in India. Additionally, this religion has been well embraced in some regions up until the emergence of several new faiths. People in this region also truly like and uh, interest in this religion because they identify with and are at ease with the teaching that Buddhism brings. Buddhist teaching, including Sangha, Dharma, Tiratna, and ethical teaching, are still disregarded in each of these schools, even though some of these teachings have spread by local standards.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Fadzil bin Muhammad Rozany. My matrix number is 1212116. Religions in China saw a quite lengthy scenarios of development throughout the history. Most are the combination of unsystematic and syncretic philosophical teachings of multiple traditional beliefs and practices. Historically, religions in China once reached its peak and flourishing period, especially during the dynastic eras. Teachings such as Confucianism gained imperial patronage as state religion. Imperial influence is one of the significant factor that influences the development of religious institutions in China. The inevitable rise of communism will eventually mark the downfall of religions in China, though not totally annihilated, but later would gradually recover. When we are speaking about the context of religion in China, there's no single dominant religion in China. There's not even a definitive word to describe religion. Common words common Chinese words to define belief in China, such as mian, meaning door or gateway, dao, which means way, and jiao, which means teaching. These words, however, do not specifically define the context of religion. It does not give a clear aspect of beliefs in China. There are four major components which form the religion in China, which mostly are philosophical teachings such as Confucianism, Taoism, Buddhism, and folk or popular beliefs and practices. Revealed religions such as Islam and Christian too have some considerable establishment in China, but the numbers are not significant and only concentrated in certain regions. Throughout the history of China, most important religions is Confucianism, besides Taoism and Buddhism. It once gained momentous recognition as a state religion during the Celestial Emperorship during the classical China era. There are four main divisions of historical periods of religion in China, named after four seasons. Spring period is the early kingdom period, fractured warring states, and warlordship era, where early philosophical teachings emerge. Second is summer period, the dynastic unification of mainland China under single emperorship throughout the series of dynastic monarchs. The third is autumn period, the dynasty's conflict period, marked by various internal rebellions and external invasions, especially the Mongols and the Manchus. The last is winter period, the secularization of China which began in early 19th century, marked with the disassociation of religions from the state affairs and religious persecutions, specifically during the communist era. Religions in China were reported to be on the increasing trend again from early 1980s throughout the mainland China, following the liberalization policies by the government of China.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ahmad Fateh bin Hali. My metric number is 1212042. For now, I will discuss about religion in Japan. Religion in Japan is manifested primarily in Shinto and in Buddhism, the two main faiths which Japanese people often practice simultaneously. Syncretic combination of both, known generally as Shinbutsu Shugo, are common. They represented Japan's dominant religion before the rise of state Shinto in the 19th century. The Japanese concept of religion differs significantly from that of Western culture. Spirituality and worship are highly eclectic rites and practices, often associated with well-being and worldly benefits, are of primary concern, while doctrines and beliefs garner minor attention. My analysis: Japanese religion, the religious belief and practices of the Japanese people. There is no single dominant religion in Japan. Instead, several religious and quasi-religious systems exist side by side. Shinto was traditionally intertwined with the functions of the Japanese state, while the broader populace has been influenced by an unorganized folk Shinto, Ninzoku Shinto, related to but not altogether compatible with the institutionalized form. Public and private morality has been based on Confucianism, and spiritual and metaphysical problems have been the concept of Buddhism. Bushido was the guiding principle of the warrior caste during the feudal period. There are some points that I got are: first, Shinto. Shinto is the indigenous religion of Japan and has deep historical and cultural roots. It is characterized by the worship of kami, the spirits or deities believed to reside in natural elements, places, and ancestors. Shinto rituals and practices are often centered around shrines, and the belief in harmony with nature and purify are central to Shinto philosophy. Second point, the emperor and the kami. The relationship between the emperor and the kami is deeply rooted in Japanese culture and history. Kami are spirits or deities that are believed to reside in natural elements, places, and ancestors. They are considered sacred and revered in Shinto, the indigenous religion of Japan. Traditionally, the Empire of Japan is regarded as the highest authority in the country and is a direct descendant of the sun goddess Amaterasu, who is one of the most important kami in Shinto. According to mythology, Amaterasu's grandson, Ninigi no Mikoto, descended from the heaven to become the first empire of Japan. The empire also visits important Shinto shrines to pay respects to the kami. One such shrine is the Ice Grand Shrine, dedicated to Amaterasu. Third point, from Kamakura to Tokugawa. The period from the Kamakura to the Tokugawa era in Japan represents a significant period of political, social, and cultural transformation. Here's a brief overview of this historical. First, Kamakura period, 1185 to 1333. The Kamakura period began with the establishment of the Kamakura shogunate. Second, Muromachi period, 1333 to 1577. 1873. The Muromachi period is also known as the Ashikaga period, named after the Ashikaga shogunate that ruled during this time. Third Sengoku period, 1467 to 1573. The Sengoku period, meaning Warring States period, was characterized by intense military conflicts and power struggles among various regional warlords. 4. Azuchi Momoyama period, 1573 to 1803. 1603. The Azuchi Momoyama period marked the end of the Sengoku period and the unification of Japan under the leadership of Oda Nobunaga and Toyotomi Hideyoshi. 5th Tokugawa period, 1603 to 1868. The Tokugawa period, also known as the Edo period, began with Tokugawa Ieyasu establishing the Tokugawa shogunate. The transition from the Kamakura to the Tokugawa period represents a dynamic and transformative era in Japanese history. 4th point, Meiji. The Meiji era is an era of Japanese history that extends from 1868 to 1912. The Meiji era was the first half of the Empire of Japan, when the Japanese people moved from being an isolated feudal society at risk of colonization by Western powers to the new paradigm of a modern, industrialized nation-state and emergent great power influenced by Western scientific, technological, philosophical, political, and aesthetic ideas. As a result of such wholesale adoption of radically different ideas, the changes to Japan were profound and effective in its social structure, internal politics, economy, military, and foreign relations. 5th point, New religious movement. Japan has been the emergence of various new religious movements, often referred to as Shinshukyo or new religions. These movements have gained a significant following and have had an impact on Japanese society. Here are a few notable new religious Japanese in Japan, such as Tenrikyo, Kurozumikyo, Omotokyo, and Seicho no Ie. This new religious movement emerged as a response to the changing social and cultural landscape of Japan during the Meiji era. They offered alternative spiritual paths and often incorporated elements from traditional Japanese religions, as well as influence from Western thought and philosophy. In conclusion, it is important to note that many Japanese people do not identify with a single religious affiliation exclusively, but rather incorporate elements from multiple religious traditions into their daily life. Religion in Japan often intertwines with cultural practices, rituals, and traditions, forming a unique syncretic blend. This syncretism allows for a fluidity and coexistence of different religious beliefs and practices in Japanese society. Overall, religion in Japan reflects a diverse tapestry of beliefs and practices that have shaped the country's history, culture, and spiritual landscape. That's all from me.